In the support files area, you've been provided with a piece of code called String Checker version 1. Please copy this code into your project folder and then open it in PyCharm. Right now, we have a string checker function that always returns yes. We're going to be editing this so that it actually checks whether the user response is valid or not. This piece of code has been set up so that we can automate our testing and save ourselves some time. We have a list called toTest, which includes everything that's in our test plan. How this works is for each line in the list, we've got our test case, and then we've got the expected value. So the first line, we're going to test yes, and it should return yes. In the second line, we're going to test uppercase Y, and it should still return yes. In the last line, we're going to put in maybe, and it should return invalid. And that's what this code down here is doing. What we're going to do is we're going to run the function where we feed in our case, and we're also going to feed in our yes-no list. Then it's going to compare what we put in with what it gets out and tell us if we're okay. So as you'd expect, if I was to run it right now, every time it's a yes, it says it passed because our function returns yes, but for everything else, it fails. Our first step is to set up an infinite loop while true, and we're going to iterate through our list of valid answers and compare them with our user response. And the first thing we can do is check if our user response is a word in the list. And if it is a word in the list, we're going to return the full word. We can then check if the user response is the first letter of one of our items, which is item 0. And if that's the case, we still want to return the whole word. If we don't have a valid response, we don't want to automatically return yes, we want to return invalid. And one of the things we do want to check is that we're going to match our expected value of invalid. And in this case does matter. And when we run it, we see we have a problem because it's failing whenever we've got an uppercase character. So to fix this, we can take our user response and make sure that it's lowercase. And when we do this, we of course need to comment our code. And now when we run our tests, all of them passed. And here's what my documentation for my string checker testing looks like. To do the testing for rock, paper, scissors, I'm going to save a version of this file. And I'm actually going to leave the string checker alone. The only thing that I'm going to change is what I'm testing. And I used a fairly complicated concatenate formula in the hope of making my life easier. And I can paste in the code. For the final thing, I'm just going to call it invalid for now. And of course, when I call my function, I need to allow rock, paper, scissors, or XXX. And as soon as I typed in XXX as the exit code, I realized that I needed to change my automated testing slightly. And now when we run our second version, we can see that we've used the identical function to check for yes-no responses and for rock, paper, scissors responses. And just like before, we could update our documentation to show that the function works as expected. Of course, we can't use this piece of code exactly as it is in our final program. So what we're going to do is make a few minor adjustments, and I'll show you what those are in the next video.